I'm sure Interceptor, the new Netflix action movie, is going to be a trending title very quickly. But should it? An army captain must use her years of tactical training and military expertise when a simultaneous coordinated attack threatens the remote missile interceptor station that she is in command of. So this stars Elsa Pataky and Luke Bracey. Pataky is JJ, an army captain who has just returned to helm this missile base that's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Now, the base's sole purpose is to shoot down enemy nuclear missiles before they can reach the United States. But when terrorists try to overtake the base, JJ must stop them in order to save the US from an enemy attack. Alright, so this movie is an absolute turd, and before I get into all of the stuff that is bad, I am going to list a couple of things that are actually kind of good about this. And I'm being serious when I say there are only a couple, because there just aren't too many positives to list. So first off is the action. I'm surprised that the action is halfway decent. But it's decent only when there is action happening. There are large portions of this where nothing really is happening, other than some exposition dumps, which I will get to a bit later. Now, when we do get some fight scenes, the choreography is pretty impressive, and I'm happy about the fact that they don't use a lot of quick cutaways. I mean, the camera actually follows the action and the actors, and they're allowed to perform their stunts without it all being cut and shown from like 30 different angles. We get to watch the fights play out, and even though you do have to suspend a lot of disbelief, the fights are entertaining and exciting. Now, the score is semi-good as well. I mean, it's overly dramatic and it's too loud at times, but it is effective in helping to create and then maintain the appropriate tone for what's playing out. The music will swell as the emotion builds, and it really just kind of works. Now, I like that there's a built-in time crunch to the narrative that creates some tension and builds a little bit of urgency, which then creates some forward momentum within the story. So as this is coupled with the action sequences, there's some excitement to be had. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the things that are halfway decent in this film. Now it's time for everything that just doesn't work. So let's start with the dialogue. It is stilted, very unnatural, and it comes across as amateurish. I mean, at no point do you feel like the words that are being spoken by the actors would be something that you would hear in a normal conversation. And that's even within the military, where sometimes things are a bit stilted or very regimented. And that goes to the acting as well. It's stiff, unnatural, and most of the people don't feel like that they want to be there. I mean, some even feel like they're overacting, or maybe that this is their very first time being in front of a camera. And that's not meant to be a knock to them. That certainly falls to the director to elicit great performances. Now, I don't understand why the director allowed some of these cheesy lines and deliveries, and then even some of these very awkward scenarios to really take place and make it into the final cut of the film. So the plot in this is very thin and it's predictable, but that's not always a bad thing. But in this, we have some bad guys coming in to do bad things, and because it's in a very constrained environment, we do need some more to occur that prevents it from being just a victim of its own simplicity. I mean, think about Die Hard. It's basically the same premise, where you have some bad guys coming into a lockdown location, and they need to have certain things happen to accomplish their goal. But then they encounter the one thing that they didn't expect, John McClane. The same goes for Interceptor. JJ is the unexpected fly in the ointment, but the story doesn't contain any of the great storytelling or dramatic elements like Die Hard did, which then invest us as an audience into the story. And to make matters worse in this, we get a lot of exposition dumps from the characters. I mean, they actually stop down from what they're doing to explain their plan, or to explain their motivations. Instead of showing us some of the things or giving us detail and background in other or more creative ways, we just watch these actors talk. And talk. I mean, in an action movie, that becomes very boring and unnecessary, especially when the dialogue itself isn't written well. The special effects are pretty wonky too. They feel very made-for-TV movie-ish, like something out of a Sharknado movie or, something like that. The textures don't feel real, and the lighting, it's a bit harsh, and it just doesn't have this natural feel to it in a lot of the scenes. The interactions between the characters are kind of absurd too. I mean, there are portions where government officials are communicating with JJ, and the execution feels like they just got a bunch of friends sitting around the end of a table looking at a camera, and then they all just kind of take turns at saying lines that they think might fit. There's no drama or any type of good emotion that sucks you in or even keeps you invested. If anything, I think it's going to make you laugh or maybe make you want to take a drink. This is also trying to have a social commentary to it, but it's so ham-fisted and poorly executed that the message actually becomes forced and then less effective. Finally, there's a very odd inclusion of an excessive cameo appearance in this, and it's kind of a high-profile cameo. I couldn't wrap my head around why this person was in here until I saw the credits. Now, I understood who the cameo was, but not why they were there. And when I say the appearance is excessive, it is. There are probably 3 to 5 different scenes with this person. It's overused, feels very ill placed, and really takes away from what was happening in the film. Even though a welcomed break from the ridiculousness and the terribleness of this movie would have been a welcomed thing. So overall, Interceptor uses its action, choreography, and musical score to elevate and maybe distract from the thin plot, terrible dialogue, and stiff acting. While it's only 96 minutes long, it feels even longer than that, thanks to the breaks in action combined with large exposition dumps. If you're looking for an ultra casual watch where you barely pay attention and can still totally follow the story, then sure, put this on in the background. If, though, you are looking for an engaging action movie with some thrills and entertaining characters, this isn't it. I mean, I'm sure that this is going to be a trending title, but it really shouldn't be. There's no sex or nudity, but there is a lot of profanity and a ton of violence. I give Interceptor 1 out of 5 couches. So what are you watching this weekend? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.